Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Dearest Mother and Dad. Love, Ruth, John, Mark, Pamela, Patricia, and Peter. 1968, Part 151. These letters were originally published in the first part of Small Shaw Family Memories Collection, or SFMC number 69, published on August 19, 2001. Letter from the editor of the SFMC. Here are this issue's highlights. Every year, Char usually does so much that she's ill around Christmas. Kathy told Patty that she wished she lived here and that Patty was the visitor. The millionaire, Will C. Grant, that owns the island in the Bahamas, wrote that he will sell us a 9-acre plot on the island, the next lovely beach, for $25,000. Mark has the sun lamp going already. Thank you for the peak friends too. We are especially blessed in having John. He is our backbone and stabilizer. Read on, SFMC reader, read on. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, January 3rd, 1968. Dear Mother and Dad, we were certainly sorry to hear that you were so very ill before and during Christmas and the holidays. I really wasn't too surprised, though, because it sounded as if you were just trying to do too many things before Christmas. It's easy to do, though, and so many people do the same thing. I was afraid that I was. Every year, Char McQuilkin usually does so much that she's ill around Christmas. There has been so much illness and viruses going around. Good that Bud and Doris could help to make it a little better for you. Poor Peter woke me about 5 o'clock a.m. Christmas Eve or day. I had just gotten to bed about 3:30 a.m. after church and filling all the stockings. He had an earache and it burst on Christmas Day at Grandma's. He'd had a cough for about 3 weeks. I'd let him stay home a couple of days. He'd seem better, then go to school and get worse. He'd got it at the last campout. His teacher was ill also. The doctor gave him penicillin and he's okay now. We really had the best Christmas season ever, though, this year. I never thought I'd ever get everything ready. We had to miss Dick and Isabel Stevens' party Christmas Eve afternoon. John had painted both living room and dining room ceilings the previous week and the bathroom that week. I got a lovely new bedspread. John's folks arrived about 5 o'clock p.m. for a turkey dinner. We used your lovely linen cloth. Bud had sent a lovely flower arrangement. Someone had sent us a turkey. We had a lovely dinner and evening, but missed Dick and Joan's family. Stevie Strawbridge came over to see Santa Claus, and I made the goof of the year. The light was bright, so I went up to Santa to turn it off and say something, and I said, "Grandpa." Everyone was dumbfounded, especially Santa Claus. I don't know if Grandpa Ray will ever forgive me. Later, Peter said, "Say, he does look like Grandpa. Where is Grandpa anyway?" And finally, Peter asked Grandpa, "Were you Santa Claus?" And he wrote to his cousin Mike, "Santa Claus looked like Grandpa." What a mother. Peter was pleased with his stocking and thought Santa had come because none of the toys had he seen in stores. He was especially pleased with a little electric razor. That morning, Christmas Eve Sunday, Mark had been an acolyte at St. Barnabas Church, and Christmas Eve we went to St. Peter's Church at 11 o'clock, and last Sunday Mark was crucifer at St. Barnabas. I cried as he went by, thinking how you'd like to see him. He's almost 6 feet tall. Christmas Day, we took John's folks to dinner at the Holiday Inn buffet and then spent the rest of the day at their house. John's mother had a lovely buffet supper in the evening. Carol's family had come too. Carol has a new job as secretary in Sandusky that pays $490 a month. We got ready for our party last week. The children were a good help, and John said it was our most successful party. John made a good punch, the one I had for his surprise 40th birthday, and we'd borrowed the Stevens punch bowl. I had a cheese fondue in the chafing dish, marinated artichoke hearts, a shrimp tree, and hot crab meat canopies, hot and cold. I had catered. Patty helped serve too. Pamela was off on her first date, her toboggan party. Between 30 and 40 people came to our party. Our temperature dropped 30 degrees after I wrote you, from 68 degrees to 38 degrees, and went on down from a record high for the date to a record low for New Year's, 2 degrees below. Mark had to deliver his newspapers and found it extremely cold. He also had a telephone call from one of his elderly lady customers to shovel her driveway. It didn't snow until Christmas Day. Saturday, I made a cake and those ham cheese buns and a plate of canopies, and we took them all out to Merrill and Garrett and had a liqueur with them. Then went to Shar McQuilkin's lovely buffet dinner for about 40 folks. I thought our party had been lovely, but hers was more so. But John's punch was better. Sunday after church, John went to Huron, Ohio, and brought back Lisa and Kathy Wiesenhauer for the weekend. Kathy told Patty she wished she lived here and that Patty was the visitor. Quite a compliment, since we think their new home is so nice. Dave and Carol Wiesenhauer came over for New Year's dinner, and we had another lovely candlelit dinner. So we had a very festive and rewarding season, and the children went back to school today happy. Thank you for the lovely plates. I wish you wouldn't mail them. One was chipped, very slightly though. I would like to buy some of the little Eskimo ones for gifts from you when you feel well enough to continue, but don't send them. Maybe you can bring them sometime. We are quite excited right now. The millionaire, Mr. Will C. Grant, that owns the island Cistern Key, wrote that he will sell us a 9-acre plot on the island in the Bahamas, the next lovely beach, for $25,000. It is such a temptation, like offering a piece of paradise. Mark thinks I should go back to teaching to pay for it. We are flying to Nassau, Bahamas, Friday, March 22nd, staying at the British Colonial Hotel that night, and have a seaplane charter to fly out to the island Saturday, March 23rd. We have the plane charter to take us back to Nassau on Monday, April 22nd, and come back to Cleveland. Although Mark has excellent grades, he doesn't feel he can miss a month of school, so he will join us later. We will have to charter a plane to bring him out. We would like to invite you and Dad to fly down to Nassau and go out with us. Believe me, it is the opportunity and experience of a lifetime to fly out on a seaplane and live alone on an island. We can hardly wait. All that beautiful blue sky, clear water, lovely air, and sunshine. Tell Dad it isn't too hot at all, just perfect. I think he'd enjoy the fishing. Peter will be 8 years old in May, and Dad has never seen him, nor any of the children, for 9 years. You won't have to pay rent or food. Of course, we'd like you to come back to Cleveland with us April 23rd, if you could. I don't have my PTA commitments now, so won't be so busy. Mark has the sun lamp going already, and even Patty and Kathy got some sun lamp after sledding at the park on New Year's Day. Mark is getting his tan now. He also got hair straightener for Christmas. It's the reverse of a home permanent. We hope you'll consider coming down. It does us a lot of good. We're at the point where we don't think we could make the year without it. If you think you might, try to make plane reservations right away. We made ours last September. Thank you for the peak friends too. You didn't say whether the slippers fit, or the tablecloth, or the sweater. Did Doris like the tablecloth? I used your linen one for Christmas and the Dacron embroidered one for the party. Please ask Doris to return the pink smocked Irish dresses when she's done with them. I hope she hasn't given them away. They were expensive in Ireland and nice enough for me to save for my grandchildren. Mark is 15 years old. John, too, said he hoped that you are feeling better. He's my doctor and always after me to slow down or go to bed so I won't get ill. We here are all off to a happy new year. Love, Ruth, John, Mark, Pamela, Patty, and Peter. P.S. Thanks again for the nice Christmas things. The plates are lovely. Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio. January 30th, 1968. Dear Mother, we were so glad to receive your letter today and certainly sorry that you haven't snapped back, but we can certainly understand it. I've been taking the whole month of January to recuperate from various aches and pains. Fortunately, John is more than understanding and even encourages me into becoming a recluse. I had 10 straight days at home during our big snowstorm, and he hailed it as a record. He seems to think it's wonderful that Carol has such a good job, but he prefers me at home, it seems. John thought that since we hadn't heard from you that you might be seriously considering our invitation. I'm certain that it would do you good. It is really a piece of paradise and we can hardly wait. I've already started making out menus for the cook and planning the groceries. We are flying down on March 22nd, staying overnight at the British Colonial Hotel, and have the seaplane chartered for March 23rd to fly out in the afternoon. There will only be 5 of us. John's mother has volunteered to come here and stay with Mark. Then Mark will fly down 2 weeks later on April 4th, and John has another seaplane chartered to fly him in that day, April 4th, so that if you felt a month was too long, you could come the first 2 or last 2 weeks and you would go in or out on Mark's seaplane. The Garretts would like to go with us again, and I think Aunt Helen Lacey would like to go this year, but we would prefer to have you come. Why don't you plan to go down with us and Dad come on April 4th for the last 2 weeks with Mark? I, too, must see the doctor for a checkup. John can't understand why I wait to make an appointment when I feel better. I think now that I've had a similar bug to yours. I had a sore throat for several days and gargled a lot, then a severe headache and nausea, and then a continuing exhaustion and pains in my hands, wrists, elbows, shoulders, back, feet, ankles, and knees. I thought of rheumatic fever, rheumatism, arthritis, and one day my hand was numb, so I thought of Marilyn's multiple sclerosis. However, now Patty has had the earache, stomachache, and tiredness, so I think it's a bug that takes a while to get over. So I've been spending most of my time in bed. John didn't want me to drive in all our snow anyway, and the girl who was to drive to the Huff area got stuck in her own driveway. I thought of what Carol said one day of how when she felt bad, she got dressed, went to work, and felt better. So one day a few weeks ago, I felt terrible, went to a board meeting at Kensington, the grocery store, lunch for the children, Huff area teaching speech, the Shaker Square with Nan Gregory, dinner, and to a PTA meeting, and I still felt terrible, even worse. So to bed. But I think it's good to hibernate sometimes, and this was a good time to do it, and I think I'm feeling better. I was glad to get your note from Elsie. I do hope she can come to visit us this time. I'll write and invite her down. My note from her just said she'd be at Chris's for Christmas. I invite her each time, but she hasn't come yet. Her last supper over the mantel got lots of compliments at our Christmas open house. I'd so much like to do something nice for her. Any suggestions? I just had a call from the church women's asking me if I'd open our house for a bridge luncheon on February 15th. It will give me a deadline for getting something done. I'm very happy that Brian thought the gifts were nice. I did push myself too much about that time, and am paying for it just as you are. I'd never have gotten them mailed if it hadn't been for John. Someone asked me what I wanted, and I said, to get everything done. As long as I have John, I really don't need much else. Last night he took me to the movie Taming of the Shrew with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. It certainly was good, excellent. I thanked him for going to work these snowy mornings, and he asked if that was the message I got from the movie. John had to leave early for a Welfare Federation meeting. Pamela and Mark leave early for ensemble rehearsals. There will be a music competition soon. In 3 years, Mark will be away at college and Peter won't be coming home for lunch. Since I've been having so much trouble with my right hand especially, I've been wondering if it's because I haven't done any painting, and God is taking away my talent for not using it. I hope you feel better soon for painting. If you had a bridge party, you must be feeling somewhat better, but you shouldn't push it too soon. Peter had me out in the snow Friday making a snowman because Patty and Stevie were sick and he didn't have a friend. I didn't feel much like it, but thought I'd better. Probably the last time he'll want me to play with him. Tomorrow they want me to go to the Educational Research Council at 8:30 a.m., and I go to the Huff area at noon and PTA in the evening. I've been skipping so many things lately. Patty was thrilled with her pink things. She loves surprises. She had just come home from the orthodontist and had been home from school sleeping all Thursday. Her head ached, her tummy ached, and her teeth hurt. Her braces looked like medieval torture, almost solid silver, and now she's starting on the bottom ones. The girls in her class are so envious that they are making wire things to put on their teeth, and it infuriates Patty, but I told her, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Several of the mothers have said how disappointed their daughters are that they can't have braces like Patty. She's the only girl in her class, and this is the status symbol now. How strange. When your parcel was here, she said, "Oh, how I like surprises. And pink things." She'll write. Pamela made 2 lovely pies last week, better than I can make. She has an excellent home economics teacher who really inspires Pamela, and Pamela is just naturally very good. She's good at everything. John said he never saw such a hard worker in his life. She throws herself into everything. They made $70 at the drama club dance Friday. She made posters, decorations, and sold cakes. I asked if she danced, and she said, "Oh, Mother, don't be so old-fashioned. Nobody dances at a dance." Mark is thrilled about his snow skiing. I hope he doesn't break a leg. Our whole family went bowling yesterday, even Peter, for Mark's birthday party. But now Mark prefers snow skiing and wants the whole family to go. I had a call about a house on the lake. A friend of ours wants to sell for $157,000. It has a swimming pool and is lovely, new. I was at a coffee there in October. I'm sure we'll want to go someplace else sometime, but we'd love to have a piece of this island Cistern Key. I'm sure the land value will increase. It's in the Exuma's Land and Sea Park, and they aren't selling anymore, and it is so lovely. Take care of yourself and make a plane reservation. You can cancel it if you don't feel up to it. You won't be in the way at all. Love, Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, February 22nd, 1968. Dear Mother and Dad, a month from today we will be in the Bahamas, and realizing how quickly the past 2 months have flown and how much I should accomplish by then, the next month will be all too short. Such an incredibly sad thing has happened since I last wrote. You remember when you and Dad were here and we visited John's aunt and uncle out on the Shawsey in Sandusky, Helen and Fred Zook? Aunt Helen Zook was Mark's godmother and so very good to him. Since then, they had built a lovely new home also on the Shawsey. Fred had been president of the bank, chairman of the hospital board for over 30 years, and president of the Sandusky Foundry. He is now chairman of the board. They also have plants in Japan and Scotland now. Usually we visit them at Christmas while in Sandusky, but this year Helen could not have visitors because she was resting up for a heart operation, a valve transplant. She was so good to come over for Mark's confirmation 2 years ago after being very ill and had had an operation. The evening before her operation, both our bishops, Bishop Burt and Bishop Burrows, who is retiring, visited her. She went into surgery at 9 o'clock a.m. and was still in surgery at 2:30 p.m. and until 10:30 p.m. When we called the hospitals, they said she was in fair condition, but that is no indication. Although she lived all the next day, she never came out of the anesthetic and died the following morning. Apparently the first valve they put in didn't fit, and they had to try another, and although she had 25 blood donors, Fred said the doctors told him that she was only getting enough blood to the left side of the brain that was a trickle the size of the lead in a pencil, and that if she had come out of it, she'd have been completely paralyzed and an invalid. When John's mother called early in the morning, we realized what had happened, but were shocked. She had Dr. K, who is an eminent heart specialist, and she was only 61 years old and a beautiful woman, very lovely. We went over to see Fred. They did not have a big funeral, only a private service, and she was cremated. As John said, it would have been pagan to have a big funeral after the ordeal they went through. The fact that both bishops had visited her was a real tribute, I think. Our minister has asked us to have the first communion in the homes during Lent. It is a new idea for the Episcopal Church, I believe, here, and a new liturgy service. We will have a table under Elsie's Last Supper for the altar. It will be Wednesday, March 6th. It would be nice if Elsie could come down here for it. We've invited her many times, you know. I had thought of inviting her to the Bahamas, but had dismissed the idea since she's had 2 bad falls, and of course this island is very remote with no streets or other people or doctors. Last year even the radio telephone was not working, so we had no communication outside at all. And of course, since we do take all the groceries in by plane, I didn't know if she's on a special diet. I will write to her if you like. I also didn't remember that she liked warm weather or that there would be anything there that she'd like to do. We enjoy the snorkeling and fishing. Now about the seaplane. They can only fly in the daylight, and it can only land on a calm sea. I don't think you'd want to be out there in the dark landing in the ocean with all those sharks. The pilot wouldn't do it anyway, and John does not want to change the charter now. Although you would save $50, you would have to pay another $65 for rooms to stay until Sunday if we could get them now. Also, our groceries have to be purchased Saturday, the meats, etc., since the stores are closed Sunday, and we not be able to leave them out in the airport, milk, meat, and butter. I realize that it would be nicer for you, however. I don't know if we could get the hotel suites for another night. As you know, we have had all our arrangements, including the charter airplane, set since last fall, and John just can't start changing everything now. It's too bad that you couldn't have found out about the Saturday deal earlier. John will enclose our schedules to help you. Anything that you could bring, especially cookies, would help, because as you must realize, it's a lot of food for 6, 7, or 8 people for a month. The seaplane can only hold a limited amount, but we do have to eat, plus soap, Kleenex, toilet paper, everything. In Hopetown, we at least could buy some things and bread, but here we have to take the flour and yeast for that, everything. The children enjoyed their Valentine cookies. We've had another busy weekend. John took us all to the circus Thursday afternoon, and Patty is on a Girl Scout campout this weekend, and John took the others on an Indian Guide campout, and today was Pam's Girl Scout rummage sale for their Washington, D.C. trip. Pam can't go because of the Bahamas. She had a tooth filled today also. I chose the marble for our bathroom vanity, Paradise Estramos. Our bathroom sink had to be replaced because they couldn't get the replacements for the fixtures, so I've driven 1,000 miles and looked at every pink top and vanity. So today I ordered a real marble top and a vanity base and gold, brass, rosette, Versailles rose fixtures. It will cost several $100s, so hope it will look nice. I never seem to be able to do things the easy way. They asked me to be president of the junior high PTA again and also to be vice president and then president of the council, but I refused. I just got a substitute for my work with the Negro children while we're gone. All 18 of them said bath last week for bath. Also went to a tea at the penthouse of Winton Place, and we're going to a dance at the Westwood Country Club. One of my neighbors invited me to a luncheon next week, and Char is taking me to a Shakespeare champagne brunch. Did I tell you Ann White's is a grandmother? I had Johnny for lunch while she helped Sue. Sue has a baby girl, Tiffany. Love, Ruth. Now here's a note from John. Island flying service is at Nassau Airport. We will leave Nassau at 3 o'clock p.m. Saturday, March 23rd by a chartered Grumman Goose of the Island Flying Service for Cistern Key. Mark's plane is chartered to leave at 3:30 p.m. April 4th from Nassau to Cistern Key. The seaplane will be returned to Nassau about 6 o'clock p.m. It is $100 each day for a charter flight. The Grumman Goose seaplane is chartered to pick us up at 11:30 a.m. Monday, April 22nd. There should be no extra charge for you using the seaplane service that we have already chartered. It only holds about 8 to 9 people. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, February 26, 1968. Dear Mother, just another quick note about our trip. I neglected to mention that when John made our reservations to fly to Nassau on March 22nd, he made reservations for us at the British Colonial Hotel in Nassau for Friday night, March 22nd. He made a reservation for 6 people, and since Mark will not be with us, we will have room for you. Now, it might be easier for you to fly down and be there on the Friday and have the night's rest at the British Colonial Hotel before going on by seaplane. If Elsie decides to come, she would have to make another reservation, I believe, since John made it for 6, but I don't know what the exact arrangement will be. Love, Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, March 4th, 1968. Dear Mother, we're certainly sorry to learn about the spot on your lung. It probably dates at least from your lung infection at Christmas. Certainly too bad that the doctor hadn't kept tab on that. What kind of treatment does he give? Are there many people still in the sanitarium? The one here has so few patients now with all the latest drugs that they are thinking of turning it into a mental hospital, although there still are heavy concentrations of TB turning up in the Negro areas. They have a traveling X-ray lab, and I usually try to get checked. Did you ask the doctor about the trip to the Bahamas? I should expect that he would prescribe a trip to a warmer climate for a while. I should imagine Dad would want to take you on such a trip. I remember that Marion had a spot on her lung when we were in Saskatoon. And that was one of the reasons that we chose to go to Florida. Are you allowed to be with Janet and Joan? My doctor's appointment is Friday, and I'm just crossed that I didn't have it a couple of months ago, as I'm sure you are. I'm sure I have nothing like you have, but I'm exhausted all the time and have accomplished so little. I do something, and a half hour later I'm tired and ache all over. John thinks it's probably a poor blood count. We'll see. We saw the most marvelous underwater movies last evening that made us all anxious to go back to the Bahamas. We were invited out to a dinner party before the movie and lectured to meet Harry Peterson and his wife from the Audubon Group, who were here for the Nature Center lecture series. Saturday evening we were at a very lovely dinner dance at the Westwood Country Club. Mark was an acolyte at 8 o'clock a.m., so John got up and took him. Friday night was another Indian guide campout, so I took Patty to her 9 o'clock a.m. orthodontist. She now has a lower band, too. Tomorrow is the PTA board meeting. I am chairman of the nominating committee, and we're all set. I was called to be president of the junior high again, and also called twice to be president of the council, but I had no difficulty in saying no. I'm just too tired. Tomorrow afternoon I'm going to a luncheon at my neighbor's across the street, and Wednesday we're having the communion for church, the first time with the new liturgy and in a home. I'm glad to hear that you're getting some spring-like weather. We've had the worst winter since I've been in Cleveland, and everyone has been anxious to get away. However, it's been cold in Florida too, so we're looking forward to the nice sun in the Bahamas. I think everyone in the North Country needs it. The winters are too long. We've found our family health so much better since we started these trips. We began them because of Mark's pneumonia bouts, and this year I'm especially ready. We do hope that you are feeling better and that you are responding to the doctor's treatment. You had too much activity in the fall, I expect, too, after your big trip. You must ask the doctor what he thinks of the Bahamas trip. I suppose John could try to get another reservation at the British Colonial Hotel for Saturday night and try to get the seaplane chartered for Sunday if you were able to come on Saturday. But I still don't know what we do with the perishable groceries overnight, the milk and meat. Do you have a sun lamp? It might be good for you. I must start using ours. I've just made the bread for our communion and bought the wine, Beaujolais. I'm to have a table with a white linen cloth and candles. We'll put it under Elsie's Last Supper. I have some forsythia blooming all over the house. We'll serve coffee and cookies after the Lenten discussion of the new liturgy. We will be anxiously waiting to hear how you are. You are in our prayers. Do call the doctor about the Bahamas. Have you dropped your activities? Are you contagious? Are you confined to bed rest? God bless. Take care. Love, Ruth. Now we have one letter to the editor from my father, based on the original publication. Dear editor, I especially enjoyed SFMC number 69. The picture of our family on the beach in Florida at Easter 1964 is priceless. Mr. Grant offered to sell us a piece of paradise for $25,000. What a wonderful man. Mark got a hair straightener for Christmas. Gadzooks. Red was having trouble with her right hand and wondering if God was taking away her talent for not using it. Patty's tooth braces were a status symbol at school. Curious. Pamela said, "Nobody dances at a dance." Helen Zook's death shortly after his heart surgery was a real tragedy. Didn't have the right size heart valve. I did not recall that Bishop Burt visited her just before the surgery. Red says that our family health has been better since we started going to the Bahamas. Keep up the good work. Love, Dad. John S. Ray, Rocky River, Ohio. To be continued. Well, that concludes today's presentation. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.